I thought they got in on top, Grundy in the middle and some of their more experienced players. Lipinski looks like he's going to be a good move for them in the middle, combining with the Dacos brothers. And a few others that moved through there that gave their forwards really good looks, side bottom moving through there. And then Hawthorn just couldn't sort of chain it together and connect with their forwards. But we think there might be a goal, 4 or 5 goal breeze to the right-hand side, so we'll see how we go.
See those flags on the outer side fluttering toward the freeway end to the right of your screen. Opening clearance through Chris, but Sicily is able to pick it off. Had a pretty busy opening term in that Hawthorn defensive unit. Gunston wheels away and fires the Hawks inside the 50. And a big mark pulled in by Ned Reeves at full forward.
Big grab. He's a big boy, Ned Reeves. He's another pre-season under his belt. And that's what you love to see, the resting ruckman going forward and being able to take big clunks like that. But just a great piece of play. Sicily cuts it off, gets it to Gunston, goes quickly forward to the big target. Hopefully Hawthorn, he can slot this and Hawthorn can get themselves back into it.
5 games last season for Ned Reeves, only the 1 goal. And he gets the Hawks on the board to start the second term. Hawthorn with their second. And much like in the opening term, it comes in the opening minute of the quarter. They narrow the gap to 28 points.
Just from a Hawthorn perspective in that first quarter, I was really pleased with Dylan Moore's work rate. He obviously hit the scoreboard early, but he was the bit of the connector role between through the arcs there. Other guys that impressed me in that first quarter were Lockie Bramble through the middle. Josh Ward got his hands on the ball a few times, which was good to see from the youngster, the number 1 pick for the Hawks last year. Connor McDonald got his hands on the footy, and Jai Newcomb. So from all reports, all of those boys have had big pre-seasons and will be looking to stake their claim for round 1 as we see Hawker getting amongst the faithful down at Moore.
Would you call him peckish if he's doing that kind
of
thing?
Very good, Joel. Very good.
It's almost like the Toronto Raptors mascot that gets around to the big blow-up mascot and literally just eats people, swallows
just
them up.
Just inhales them.
Might need to get that mascot a sandwich at half-time, I think. If you can't be walking around just assaulting people like that. Oh, getting assaulted there was Mira got dragged into the turf by Adams and then fires back in at him. Grundy lays on top of it all. Sidebottom tries to jam it forward for Collingwood. Coming out after it is Hoskin Elliott. Such an important player as that link-up player for the Pies. Inside the 50 and Myercheck rises and marks.
Just judge the ball fight a lot better than Granger Barras on that occasion. I think there is, it is a little bit hard to tell, but I think there is a breeze, a fairly significant stiff breeze going to the right hand of the screen. So just picked it up a lot better, Brody Myercheck.
Hooks it around the body. Has it done enough work? Oh, it has. That's a great finish. Hooking it back from right to left. And the Pies with the instant answer to the early Hawthorn goal in the second term.
Geez, he's turned himself into a really good player, Brody Myercheck. He does a lot of the hard work in that Collingwood forward line, but he also, bobs up and he's kicked bags of goals on occasions. He's, 2, 3, 4 goals, games, getting shots and setting his teammates up as well. We talked about earlier multiple channels, through the state leagues and the talent pathways at junior levels these days. There's multiple, and he's one that had a crack at Port Melbourne in the VFL for years before he got his opportunity, and then when it came, he took it with both hands, and he's done very, very well for himself.
It's been a real find for them. So too is this man for the Hawks. Warple bursting out of the middle, tumbles it inside the 50. Back there is Quainer. Well, last line of defence, Moore has a bit of a fumble for the Pies. Quainer goes in again. Handball just evaded Noble, who couldn't quite get a clean grasp at it.
Hawks will be hoping from a big year from James Warple. He won the best and fairest a couple of years ago when Tom Mitchell went down with that broken leg, but ever since they've sort of coexisted in the same team together, he just hasn't been able to hit those highs again. So hopefully he's in for a big year from a Hawks perspective this year, James Warple.
He found his feet late last year.
Yeah, and I guess that's going to happen, isn't it? He was used to a team playing a certain way, and then they had to change the dynamic up with the personnel changes, so he's just sort of working out where they can coexist in the same side.
See big Nathan Kruger laying the tackle there on Kyle Hartigan for the Pies, the number 15. Of course, cross from Geelong in the off-season, former South Adelaide product. Limited opportunity at the Cats in his time there. Walpole and Pendlebury having a couple of words.
Yeah, there's a little bit of feeling in this game.
A little bit of spirit.
Bit of niggle, which is, always good to see. Good to see the footy back.
There's Ward, who tumbles one forward for the Hawks. 7th pick in the draft last season. Pendlebury, so clean in traffic. Handball to Lipinski, had it knocked down. Bramble doing some good work, but it's spilt to Adams, who turns on a dime and darts it up the line. Myercheck pulls it in. Collingwood are away. Hoskin Elliott will go through the 50 to Pendlebury, who normally sizes things up pretty well. Elects to dish it off. Ginnivan goes one more. Kruger into the open goal, tumbles it through.
Give the new player a look at a goal. It was great team play by Collingwood. Just how good's Taylor Adams? Just spins around, hits Myercheck over the top to Elliott with handball, and a few Pies supporters have made the trek down. It looks like a really good crowd down at Morwell, so they're in for a great day down there. But just great play, unselfish play, and you love to see that. When it doesn't matter who it is that kicks the goals, as long as the side kicks the goals and they get around the big fella for his first major for the club.
Sharing the love. I tried him last year as a defender, Geelong. He's played both ends, and looks like Collingwood, certainly to start here, have chucked him up forward. Yeah,
so, great for him to be on the scoreboard. That'll do him the world of good in terms of his confidence and just, feeling amongst the group. And, it's always a good feeling when you put one through and everyone gets around you. So hopefully he can kick on from here.
You mentioned Josh Ward before. Big challenge for him standing alongside Steele Sidebottom.
Yeah, well, I think probably Sam's thinking that, let's teach him how to play with one of the competition's elite players. So I think Josh will learn a lot out of today.
One of the best wingers in the game. Sidebottom tackled there. Warple rips it away. Tyler Brown goes in. Toe pokes it forward. Warple burrows in again. Flicked it out of there somehow. Myercheck a toe poke across the centre square that worked out pretty nicely. Ginnivan got dumped in the tackle, taken high. Ranger Barras a little bit overzealous, according to the umpire. Jack Ginnivan's got it in the middle for the Pies. Handball off to Maynard. Low kick toward the 50. Ward got a hand to it to knock it away from Sidebottom. The Pies pressure locks it up once more.
Ranger Barras at the bottom of that pack. He's a bit fiery. DJB, as he's known, down at Waverley. So, adding to the spirit of this contest.
Sidebottom rips it away from the stoppage, tumbles it inside the forward 50, through the arms of Myercheck, out to Bianco. His left foot shots, just away to the right.
Getting plenty of looks, Collingwood. Just controlling the game through the middle of the ground on their terms at the moment. We think that probably there might be a 3 or 4 goal breeze to the right of your screen at home. So they're doing a really good job to lock it in their half of the ground at the moment.
Collingwood by 41. Ball travels into the centre, and a strong mark taken by Mitchell. Best and fairest last season. 3rd time Peter Crimmins medalist, sends it out wide. It's cut off by Crisp, who was the respective best and fairest at Collingwood last year, the Copeland Trophy winner. They work it down the outer side here, the Pies, where they've moved the ball so crisply so far in this game. Setting up another attacking opportunity on the lead. A great mark taken again. Elliott's in it once more.
Well, he's kicked 3. He's lining up number 4. And if Jamie Elliott can catch fire for the Magpies this year, they're going to be hard to beat. They're getting plenty of looks. They're just sort of controlling things, cutting Hawthorn's 4A forwards a lot of the time. The Hawks just need to be a little bit cleaner by foot going forward, but it's due to Collingwood's pressure by the same token. They're putting on elite pressure. We don't, unfortunately, have access to the stats and the champion data stats, but you'd think that their pressure level is through the roof at the moment, the Pies.
We know he can be a match winner, Jamie Elliott, and he's got 4 in the first half here at Morwell. Collingwood with 10 goals on the board, and we're only 9 minutes into the second term. There's some very happy Pies fans.
Collingwood supporters are cheering at home and at the ground. And why not? It's great style of footy that they're playing. They're being, hunting the ball carrier when the Hawthorns got it. And when they've got it, they've been really clean going forward. They've got a really good system. They're working for each other to create space. And Jamie Elliott gets on the end of that one, but they're really working well together, creating space, looking dangerous up forward. Every time they go forward, you feel like they're going to score. And it'd be a great forward line to be in at the moment because you feel like you're going to get plenty of opportunity.
A couple of Hawk supporters there, very brave in front of the Gippsland Magpies supporters group, I would have thought. Maybe not the spot to be loitering at the moment. I'd say it'd be a pretty rowdy bunch, the supporters group. Camped on the outer side up at the freeway end.
What's the sentiment in AFL circles about the Pies this year and where they'll sort of finish on the ladder at the end of the season, Joel, do you think?
I think the understanding is that they're just such a young team. They're clearly in a space of transition, and Craig McRae. I think that both of these teams really, when you look at the fact that they've named 91 players for a practice match between them, that just screams development to me, being the focus for both of them. I think they're actually in a really similar position list-wise, where clearly development is the focus for both of these clubs.
Yeah, no doubt. I've got a better handle on the Hawthorn side of things, and that's absolutely where they're at. They're getting games into young players, but Collingwood changing coaches at the end of last year, and a really young developing list as well is sort of at the same stage. So it'd be interesting to see how both sides come out of this and where they go to from here this season.
Elliott met Hartigan solidly and then picked the footy up, kicked it to full forward. Kruger in the pack goes the swan dive over the top. Couldn't take it with him. The tackle laid at full back for the Hawks by McGuinness to lock things up. He's another big body who looks ready to roll for the Hawks.
Yeah, he does. It's just, really impressive to see the physicality in this game from both sides so far.
Maybe come back in here for Collingwood, although slapping it out toward the boundary line. Maybe a deliberate free kick. Will Hoskin-Elliott flicks the ball back to the boundary umpire, not quite there. Brody Grundy on the bench, having a spell at the moment. Mason Cox to do battle with Reeves in the ruck. Collingwood by 47 points. Joel Peterson and Steve Gillum calling it for you here on KO Sports. Nash to Newcomb, tumbles it down the boundary. Crisp will mop up. You get used to saying that if you're a Pies fan. Darcy Moore, great to see him back out there and ready to go. Steele side bottom, turns straight for the bench after he kicks it. Cox almost drags in the mark. Moore the other way. Nash and O'Meara by hand, ran into trouble, turned it over. Adams to Pendlebury. His little hand pass went astray, and Bramble was there to take it away for the Hawks. Just spirals it forward. There's numbers out the back here. Kajitsky is awake to it, sends it toward full forward. Lewis with a rise, one hand couldn't pull it in. It would have been some mark. Brockman tries to make good of the situation. Maynard stands in the way for the Pies. The handball to Dacos goes over the boundary line. Mitch Lewis going up with the one mitt was... we know he's athletic. That would have been something else.
Would have. He just sort of got a little bit out of shape launching at that footy. Just the Collingwood defender put him off balance. But it would have been an awesome grab to pull down. Here he is again.
A chance maybe for the Hawks to lock it inside the 50. Or do better than that and score. But again, the Pies are just so dominant in these situations so far. Morrison for Hawthorn. Back to Newcomb. He's been everywhere in this opening half. Sends it to full forward. Kajitsky got a really good run at it and two hands to the ball. Wasn't paid or couldn't take the mark. McDonald's there. Handball back to Newcomb. Kick partially smothered on the way through, and Myercheck takes it away for the Pies. Adams just hacks it forward out toward the boundary line and over. And it'll be a free kick going the way of the Hawks on the wing.
Yeah, so I think two things at the moment. The Collingwood pressure on the Hawthorn ball carrier is really, really good. I think Hawthorn are probably just losing their shape a little bit ahead of the ball, and you can see the ball carrier just sort of hesitating a little bit with going forward. So Collingwood obviously doing a really good job with their defensive mechanisms behind the ball at the moment.
So McGuinness pumps the Hawks inside the forward 50. It'll get out the back. Moore has a snap on goal, bounces it toward goal, but can't get it through. Looks like there's a Pies player down inside the defensive 50. Isaac Quaino's a little bit slow to rise. Margin 46 points. Away of Collingwood. And are in the arms of the trainers I want to see. Collingwood fans, hopefully the young charge is okay. We know what an electrifying talent off half-back he can be.
Yeah, that's just the worst possible result, getting yourself injured in a practice game. Are they holding? No, Dacos plays on, but yeah, obviously you want a really strong hit out for your squad, but yeah, you don't want to pick up, ideally, any injuries from either side. Hawks have got a few out, as we know, probably a handful of guys that won't be featuring today. Some of their key players, I guess, have had a little bit of a later start to pre-season, and Collingwood as well, but yeah, not what you want. Just want to get through to the end of the game, get in your car and be in one piece.
Collingwood's injury list is pretty clear. Jeremy Howe, Roughhead's going to miss a month. Howe should be right for round one with an adductor strain, they think, and Jordan DeGoey injured his ribs in the intra-club. The Pies hoping that he'll be okay as Moore locks it up inside the defensive 50. Will Day, the Hawks say he is unlikely for round one, recovering from that fractured ankle. Hopefully Giath isn't too far away for the Hawks. Chad Wingard should play next week among some of the other players, as Gunston has a snap-on goal and he can't get it home.
Yeah, the other two, so Luke Bruce just recovering, he just overbalanced and banged his head last week, so he should be fine and play next week, and also Jarman Impey won't be too far away as well. Some of the notable absentees from the Hawks and the Pies.
I guess at least at this stage of the season, no long-termers for either side, which is a big positive.
Absolutely, yeah, love to see that. Love to have healthy lists going into the year for sure.
See a few of the Collingwood players spinning the footy in their hands behind the bench there, as well as the players waiting to come back on. So 46 players named for Collingwood, so they're going to get a look at just about everyone in their squad here this afternoon, as Mason Cox slaps his hands in frustration, not being able to take the mark.
I think we just saw Darcy Moore kick in as well from fullback, so hadn't seen him take any part in this game until then as well. Good to see him out there for the Pies.
Yeah, we saw Nick Dacos doing it a little bit earlier on as well, the kick in after the Quaynor injury, so they're, well, A, backing in his skills, but B, willing to share it around as well, that duty. Maynard, great tackle, dispossessed Moore, got away with it somehow. Crisp, who's been really busy so far for the Pies, as you'd expect, finds Cox. He's going to hand it off. And down the line through the hands of Morrison for Hawthorn. Frost had a really big go at that off the ground, didn't make connection. Lipinski, handball taken by Sicily. Newcomb's been really busy for Hawthorn. Kicks a flat footy inside the forward 50. Maynard juggles it, not paid. Dean got boot to ball inside the back 50 for Collingwood. Moore tried to ride the tackle, got caught holding the ball. And Tom Mitchell, the ever-prolific Hawk, will have a ping from just inside the 50.
Sharp haircut that Tom's rocking today.
He's sharp.
Yeah, he's got the point at the back going on there for Tommy. Hopefully he can put this one through.
Mason Cox down on his haunches on the mark. If Mason Cox was on the mark and I was having a set shot for goal, I think the glasses would be enough to put me off. He wouldn't have to do anything. Wouldn't even have to stand up. Mitchell gets on the left peg and hooks it. And it misses to the right-hand side. So the margin 44 points. The way of Collingwood.
Just feels like the last 5 games Hawthorn have controlled the territory in this game and locking it in and getting multiple looks, just not able to convert on the scoreboard at the moment.
Premiership Hawk Steve Gillen with you on KO Sports, alongside Joel Peterson calling the action on this Friday afternoon. Great to have your company as Cox runs it across the boundary line. Morwell Recreation Reserve, home of the mighty Tigers, 3-time premiership team in the Gippsland League a few years ago. With a Collingwood connection, Harmit Singh was working at the Magpies at the time and coaching more. I think the likes of Tarkin Lockyer might have played for them at different stages. There was a bit of a Collingwood crew with a connection to the Tigers.
Yeah, by the looks of the crowd, they've definitely got the balance of support down there. I know the Hawks have got their fair share as well. They don't mind getting down to Morwell and sort of spending some time down there, aligned to Gippsland Power in the NAB League.
Part of the world in the Latrobe Valley. Scrimshaw kicks the Hawks inside the 50. Lewis couldn't pull it in, opposed to Moore. I think Takeoff's got upended by Dylan Moore. And it's going to be Josh Dacos who's got it at half back. Those two are still wrestling behind the footy, Dacos and Dylan Moore. There is plenty of willingness in this contest early. It's got just that little bit more feeling in it than the usual pre-season game.
It's always nice. You've had all pre-season. You play some internal trials against your teammates. It's always nice to hit a body from an opposition team that first time for the year. So, plenty of feeling in this one. Bit of push and shove from both sides. It's it's certainly a spirited contest out there.
Breeze has picked up a bit here at this second term. Word coming through that Isaac Quaynor has gone down to the rooms for a look on a head knock too. So hopefully the young Pie isn't too bad. Free kick coming to Mitch Lewis here right on the 50. Are you fancying his chances at having a ping from here?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's got the wind at his back. I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's a 50-metre arc on the ground that's painted there just in front of him. So probably looking to carry this about 55. He's definitely got that sort of length in his leg in him.
So let's see how he goes. Kicking toward the freeway. Mitch Lewis will have to kick it every bit of 50 plus, launches into it, gives it a really good ride just away to the right-hand side.
Just a little bit wasteful. They're just sort of not getting as good a looks as Collingwood, as Pendlebury has the ball in hand. Again from the kick out, they're just sort of, just struggling to get their shots, and when they do, just not going through the big ones, unfortunately, for the Hawks supporters.
Collingwood with 4 straight behinds in this game, the last 4 scores. See Jarman Impey alongside the Hawthorn bench, just watching on, not playing this afternoon, leaning over and providing some advice. James Sicily takes it from in front of the interchange for the Hawks. Loads up inside the 50. Reeves took a good mark earlier in the term. Heavy fall there for Dean in the pack for the Pies. Nick Dacos at fullback. Just works it nicely, swings it across the defensive 50 to side bottom. Now Bianco for the Pies. On up toward Kruger, who's presented up strongly and had a bit of it here in this second term. And in front of the Magpie supporters group, a couple of Hawthorn jumpers, a random Richmond jumper. There's always someone who turns up to the footy in another team's colours.
Yeah, and we usually see like that random South Sydney just in the crowd somewhere from a rugby background, just whether it's in Australia or overseas.
Yep. Hashtag random Souths fan.
That's it.
There's no doubt there's one. There's always one. There is always one.
See if the cameraman down at Maul can pick him out.
Hawker's still doing the rounds in the background there as well. Let's hope he's had a feed. Sicily, he whacks it inside the arc for the Hawks. We know he can get some purchase on it. He got it all the way to the behind line. And over for another minor score for Hawthorn. They're 5th behind in a row now.
So, yeah, Hawthorn have obviously stemmed the flow. Collingwood have missed a few shots, granted, but Hawthorn have been able to control the game on their terms and play more in their territory, in their front half, which would be pleasing Sam Mitchell. They're just not being able to connect forward and get enough goals out of reward for effort, if you like, through their hard work through this quarter to plug the gap.
Good presentation from Kruger on the outer side. The lefty kicks inside the forward 50. Numbers out the back here for Collingwood. Elliott to himself, runs into goal and kicks his 5th. Oh, Jamie Elliott on fire at Morwell. He's got 5. The Hawks, the Pies with 11.
Just super dangerous. Again, they get it over the back. Hawks would have loved to have brought that ball forward, but Kruger's leg is just massive penetration and it clears everyone. And Elliott, as all good forwards are, just reading it before everyone, a little toe up to himself, just so skillful, and puts it through the open goal.
Almost the Conor McKenna style chip solo.
Yeah, Gaelic style.
It was a very sharp bit of work from Jamie Elliott. So 5 in the opening half for Elliott. The two-time leading goal kicker at Collingwood. 136 games, been plagued by injuries over his career, but we know that he's got every trick in the book when he's going.
So such a handful for any defence that lines up on him and the Pies this year. Almost have to send your best defender to him. He's kicked half their score to this point, and we're only sort of 2 quarters in of the 6.
So So Collingwood with 11 of the past 12 goals in the game after Hawthorn got the first. Reeves off the ground. Brockman's up to meter. Again, Crisp is there. He's had an absolute stack of it here in this opening half. No problems with Jack Crisp's form from last year carrying over into season 2022. Bramble chases it out to the boundary. It'll be thrown back in. We could see some of the emergency services in the background there. A strong relationship between particularly the Hawks and Collingwood and the emergency services.
Yeah. So obviously they like recognising all the different agencies. Obviously we've had, as a community, we've had a really challenging couple of years, and we rely on the emergency services in a lot of instances to get us through. So just good acknowledgement for those guys being involved in the game today and later on in the year. I think these two sides will play in an emergency services round, just highlighting the importance that the role they play in the community.
Of course, the Hawks have been such a key part of the Blue Ribbon round, as well as Kruger's on the end of it here again inside the forward 50 for Collingwood.
Judging by his last kick, there's no problems with the distance here, Joel.
This will be a chip. This will be a little 9-iron.
Going back very confidently, sizing it up.
He's a big lump of a lad, Nathan Kruger. Didn't get a hell of a lot of opportunities down at the Cattery a couple of seasons there. 3 seasons at Geelong. Traded for a third-round pick in the off-season. He absolutely lays into that one. And that's another beautiful kick from Kruger. He might be emerging as a bit of a cult figure for Collingwood.
Looks a likely type. Up forward. Presents to the ball really, really well. Got that beautiful left foot. Good size. Be a handful for any defender trying to play on him. Might be a little diamond in the rough for the Pies this year. All alone too, inside 50. Just went back very confidently, knew what he was doing.
A very, very nice find indeed. And Collingwood now with another 5 goals here in this term. They've again come in a row, so they've got a run of 7 and a run of 5 here in this game.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of a challenge for Hawthorn. Obviously, such a big momentum game, AFL, the modern AFL game, where a side might kick 2 or 3 and wrestle the momentum back. But, you know, it's up to the players on the ground to recognise that and put some things in place just to stem the flow a little bit. So a little bit to learn, a lot to learn for Sam Mitchell's side here out of this one, just in terms of stemming that flow and not letting sides kick bags of goals against you in quick time.
Plenty of Collingwood fans be pretty pleased with what they're seeing. They look at it as well. Nick Dacos involved at half-back. Noble kicks up the line. Myercheck was so good early in the piece. And it's run across the boundary line. Sicily there to help it over. You can see Ash Johnson just on the boundary there, spitting the footy in his hands, waiting for his go in the second half. Imagine that they'd go. Would you, if you're one of the coaches, would you have almost an all-new team out there in the second half?
Yeah, I think so. I think, to play 6 30-minute quarters when you still got the what do we call it these days?
Community series.
The Amy, is it back to Amy Community Series? I think it is these days. So next week. So yeah, a lot of these players would have played a couple of internal trials, but given the opportunity to play 6 terms and use your whole list, I think probably they'll look to play 3 quarters with one side and then flip it over.
Your commercial knowledge was spot on, by the way, Steve. Here's Ginnivan, kicks to full forward. Myercheck takes the mark. And Brodie Myercheck will look for another here for Collingwood.
Getting it in and deep and fast. You'd be loving this from a Brodie Myercheck or a Kruger or Jamie Elliott, just getting looks one-on-one inside 50. Such dangerous players anyway. They only need half a sniff, but they're getting really good looks out the back of the Hawthorn defence, and he curls that one through, Brodie. So is that 2 or 3 for Brodie now? Got a couple in this term. Yeah,
that's 2 for Myercheck, and that is 13 for Collingwood overall. And the margin is out to 10 goals.
Just some of the guys involved, side bottom, Dacos hitting targets, blokes out in space, and then running back to goal. Just really hard to defend. Hawthorn looking to push up, control the ground behind the footy, but you can't really defend that when it's coming in so quick and so easy. Just sort of falling down across half forward, Hawthorn at the moment, and when you've got the likes of Crisp and Maynard and Pendlebury streaming off half-back, you look up as a defender, it's the absolute worst nightmare.
Pretty scary proposition for an opposing side. So 6 goals in a row here to Collingwood after they kicked 7 goals in a row to start. This has been a very impressive start. Even the Collingwood social media account is onto it, tweeting vid check, as in, is it still on?
Oh, wow.
That's very cheeky in the early part of the season.
Someone's getting a bit carried away in the social
mark.
media team down at Collingwood.
Pulled in by McAvoy right on the halftime siren. And so Ben McAvoy can line up and have a shot. Mason Cox gets the mark standing duties once more. And the skipper can have a go and try and pull one back for his side after the siren has sounded.
Having a bit of laugh with the umpire, I think. Just are they for the sun or are they for something else, Mason? I think he asked him there.
So McAvoy launches into it, stands, admires, and he'll be pretty happy with his work. He gets a couple of pats on the head from teammate and a nice bit of reward to end the term for Hawthorn.